Long distance relationship breakups. Hi guys, my name is Christine Loveridge and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today we're going to be talking about long distance relationship breakups, which was a suggestion from a viewer. And I had a bit of correspondence with this viewer, and basically they wanted to know how to get back with someone they had been in a long distance relationship with. So from what I could tell from this person's email was the fact that there had been a lot of miscommunication and maybe even perhaps too much communication as well, because basically the first point that I want to get into is it's difficult to read people over the internet. So obviously if you have completely started your relationship, your long distance relationship online, and you haven't known each other prior, because there obviously are some long distance relationships out there where the two people have known each other physically and then have been separated by jobs or by going to university. So let's say two people grew up together and they met each other at school or something, and then college came around or university and they had to sort of go to different parts of the country. And that's how long distance relationships happen that way. Or it could be someone has to move away for a better job or something, so they're living in different parts of the country or different parts of the world. But of course there's the other kind of long distance relationship where two people actually meet online, which I think is probably the most popular form of long distance relationship, and then they start a relationship online, and then it's important to note that these breakups can hurt just as much as physical breakups, like people that actually have lived together or have dated each other face to face. So these long distance relationships can hurt just as much when a breakup happens as regular relationships. And basically it's a lot to do with the mindset of it, because one of the difficult things with being in an online relationship is the fact that you can't really tell what the other person is thinking. Now, of course, in physical relationships, you can't really tell what the other person's thinking, but it is better because you can see if someone's upset by the tone of their voice, you can read their body language, whereas if you're online, it's harder to do that, especially if the only communication you're doing is just online messaging and not perhaps, let's say, FaceTiming and stuff. So obviously, if you are in a long distance relationship or you are trying to get someone back who you've had a long distance relationship with, you need to start implementing actual face-to-face phone calls. So you need to start implementing, FaceTime or Skyping, something like that. You need to start implementing those and start reducing just the online messaging, because you can't really read someone that much. Now, of course, you might be able to tell if someone's in a bad mood. Let's say they always put like a love heart at the end of their message and instead they put a full stop. Then obviously there are some ways you can tell that way, but in reality, you don't really know, because there have been times in my relationship where I have been messaging my girlfriend, my fiance, when she's at work, and sometimes I might forget to put a heart at the end or a kiss or something at the end of a message, because it's so easy to forget to do these things, especially if you're busy. And then you never know, like the person on the other end might think that you're being passive aggressive or you're mad at them because you usually put a heart and for some reason you didn't, and they might now think that you're mad at them. So you can see how these things can, miscommunication can happen, which is why it's better if you are in a long distance relationship or if you're trying to get someone back, it's better to do a video call, because at least then you can hear the tone of their voice, you can see their facial expressions. So in this person's instance where they are trying to get them back, from what, I don't want to read the details out to you because obviously this is private email correspondence, but to give you the gist, basically what happened was there was too much communication going on and not enough meeting up. Also, things had already been shown and expressed that things were pretty much over and done with. So the advice that I gave to this person was that if they reach out to you, that's when you can start, perhaps implementing the relationship back into play. So the advice I gave was to back off and wait for her to talk to them, because that is the right approach in this instance. So if you're going through the same and you want to get this person back, and perhaps communication has stopped and perhaps you know deep down that you've over pursued and you've over messaged and you've maybe even begged and pleaded to get them back, you need to stop doing that, and you now need to wait for them to get back to you. So if they do get back to you, then all you need to do is you need to start facilitating that actual meeting up, because at some point you're going to have to meet up with each other, especially if you want to start your lives together and have children and get married. Of course you need to do those things in person with each other. So obviously in the world's current climate that might be a bit difficult, but you do need to start putting those plans in place. And you need to also reduce the amount of time you're online messaging each other. If you're going to have a long chat, it's better to do it over WhatsApp or FaceTime or something along those lines. It's better to do it that way, because miscommunication can happen. The only times you should really be messaging each other is to arrange these Skype calls, these WhatsApp, FaceTime calls. That's the only time you should really be messaging each other. You shouldn't be using that as a way to get to know each other. Perhaps a little bit in the beginning, so let's say you are online dating and you've met a girl, something online, and she's very far away or something. So you're doing this long distance sort of correspondence. Then of course you need to obviously send a few messages back and forth to sort of show each other that you're not catfish or anything like that. But eventually you need to get to a point where you need to say, okay, well, would you like to have a Skype chat? You know, you need to start putting those in place. So for example, when I met my fiance on Tinder, and within like the first hour of, you know, getting to know each other, perhaps maybe 5 or 6 messages were sent back and forth before, you know, I added her on Facebook. So I asked her for a name and then like her full name so we could add each other on Facebook, just to check out that we're not catfish. And on that same night, I planned to go out on a date with her. We planned to actually meet up within like the space of 2 hours. Obviously there was like that waiting time, because obviously I didn't reply straight away to her messages like instantly and stuff like that. So within like the first 3 hours of seeing her online dating profile, messaging her, doing a few messages back and forth just to get to know each other a tiny bit, but it was only about 5 or 6 messages, then adding each other on social media. Within that time, we had already planned, we've already known each other, we already, you know, made a little bit of rapport between each other, and we made plans to meet up. This was all within the first few hours. We had done that. And if you're in a long distance relationship, you need to do the same. But of course, obviously yours will be a little bit different, because you'll be arranging to have a Skype call or a Skype date, as opposed to what I did, which was actually physically meet up with my now fiance. So that's the kind of approach you need to do. And when you do message them in the future after your Skype date, it should only be to arrange more Skype dates, more FaceTime dates. So if you want to get back with someone that you was in a long distance relationship and that you've broken up with, then if it was your fault, then perhaps you need to apologize, but only if it was your fault. If they did something, then obviously they need to earn you back. But if you did something and you know you need to apologize, then it's put your ego aside and apologize to them, and ask if you want to, and ask them to have a FaceTime or Skype date with you, and just see how things go from that. But if it was their fault, then they need to earn you back, so you need to wait for them to talk to you. But if you have over pursued them and you've messaged them too much, you need to back off, because you could put them off again if you send them another message. So it's better to just wait it out if you have over pursued. You will know if you're over pursuing, because you'll get a feeling inside of you, hopefully, to say to you, okay, I've done too much, I've messaged them too much, I've messaged them 3 times in a row and they haven't responded yet. If you do something like that, don't send any more. Back off. Wait for them to respond, which is something that you must do when you're in a long distance relationship and you are messaging each other. When you send them a message and they don't get back to you, you need to leave it. You can't message them again. You have to wait. You can't get butthurt and then get angry at them because they didn't message you back. So let's say you send them a message and they don't reply within an hour, and then you get really mad at them and you send another nasty message to them saying, what are you doing? I know you're online, or something. You need to wait for them to get back to you, okay? Because if you are pushy and you're over pursuing like that and you're getting butthurt over it, it's going to put them off, okay? So wait and see if they get back to you. Because if you, let's say you're the last person to send a message to them, then you need to wait for them. Because when you're messaging online, my preferred way is actually phone calls, or Skyping and FaceTiming. But if you are messaging online, you need to wait for them to bat the ball back. Think of it like tennis, right? So you obviously send a message, you wait for them to hit the ball back and send you a message. That's kind of how it needs to go. If you send too many messages in a row, it's going to make them feel uneasy and put them off. So that's kind of my take on long distance relationships and breakups and what you should do and the right approach. I hope if you need any clarification or if you need any more help, or you're unclear about some of the things that I've said in this video, then leave a comment and I'll reply to it as soon as I can. If you'd like help with me personally, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com/shop. Alternatively, you can use the email address provided in this video's description box. I hope this has helped, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye, guys.